Bearcat Bounce Podcast. Back at it again. It's a Monday. It's a Monday after a glorious week of Bearcat basketball. It's a Monday after a glorious week of preparation for the NFL draft for Bearcat football players. It is a week of the weirdest NFL Pro Bowl type scenarios and games, I guess, that I've seen in quite a while, but a lot of it featuring Sauce Gardner, Bearcat. It is also a Monday where we have two more big-time basketball games coming up this week and plenty more to talk about. So it's time to bring in my guys, my pals, my gents who know much about the Cincinnati Bearcats. That's right. It is Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Royer. Gentlemen, how are we? Whoa.
Doing great.
Whoa, Luke!
Wait.
Luke Winstel! Luke,
The
coming out of the
initiation.
woodworks. I like it. He took the initiative. That's what we like to see. That's right. We are joined as well by Luke Winstel. I'm going to have Aaron introduce you a little bit more. But, Luke, how are we, man?
Oh, doing great. Thank y'all for having me on.
Awesome.
Appreciate you
Aaron.
being here.
Yeah. Aaron, how are we?
Yeah, so I'm good. I was retweeting people as I am one to do with the hashtag Bearcats in the NFL and came across some of Luke's stuff. Luke shot me a follow. I followed him back. We got to talking, and Luke was there covering the Senior Bowl down in Alabama this weekend. So we thought we'd have him on to talk about our three Bearcats that were there. He was even there last year with Alec Pierce and Des Ritter. Maybe we can get into some of that. But Luke, I mean, how was the weather down in Alabama this past weekend?
You know, it was weird. The first day, I think I'm still peeling a little bit, if I'm being honest. I got sunburned like crazy. It was kind of hot. Sun's beating down on us. So we got some of that, early Alabama heat. But then all of a sudden, Wednesday, I say, okay, I'm going to get ahead of it. It's going to be hot. I'm wearing shorts today. I'm going polo shirt with the, short sleeves. And then it's just cold. And I totally, was off on the weather. So I went from pants and wearing a jacket and just getting burnt up the first day. And then to a little colder. And then Thursday was kind of mild. We thought we were going to have rain. It held off long enough to get practice. So we saw the players in different environments from hot to cold. So the weather was kind of weird. Game day was perfect on Saturday. So we're grateful for that.
Awesome. Tonk, thank you. Welcome back. It's been a while since Tonk's been on the show, at least commenting. But thank you for the donation. It says the only Luke that hasn't broken his heart, as a hat tip to Luke Fickle. But welcome, Luke.
Are we just not going to talk about my hat?
Well, no, I mean, Aaron, I was going to say, Tonk's talking about stuff that is broken. Luke, you mentioned the weather kind of being like it was a little down. You had to figure out different ways to work through the adversity of the weather. What maybe some days you have to work through the adversity of your car. Maybe your car is broken. Maybe you got to get it figured out. You got to send it over to. Oh wow, look at that, Chad. What is that on your hat? Is that a Danco transmission and auto care hat? Wow, how about that, Chad? Tell us a little bit more about Danco.
Well, what Danco will do is if you go to Danco and you mention the BBP on your next visit, you get 10% off your next service or that service while you're there. So go visit our friends at Danco Transmission. They're in Fairfield on Route 4, just a little bit past, basically right across from Jungle Gyms. And our guy Danco Joe will get you taken care of. He hit me up today. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm on the radio." He said, "Where are you going to be at 6 o'clock?" I said, "I'm going to be in the parking garage, leaving the radio station." He said, "I'll meet you there."
Wow.
He gave me 4 hats. He gave me 2 beanies.
Whoa.
Dang,
He stocked me up with gear for the crew, with gear for the boys, if you will.
Did he give you a headband?
No, he didn't give me a headband for Aaron.
Damn it.
Danco, Ferda, Joe.
Hey, baby.
Dude, Joe, you're probably watching. I'm guessing you're watching. If you're not watching, you'll watch soon. Aaron needs a Danco headband. He doesn't do hats like he used to. He's a headband guy now.
And,
I have a hat on tonight.
And if you're out of the headbands or don't have those, just take him to the Mexican restaurant and just that's about all he'll need after that.
Get a margarita and a giant quesadilla.
Giant.
Yes.
With all the fixings. I mean, well, so what? Speaking of giant and all the fixings, Luke, you were able to take in a guy who might not register as giant on the height or the weight. I guess weight he's looking fine, but heart is where he might be the biggest of a giant. That's Ivan Pace. We got to dive right into it. Need to hear your thoughts first off of Ivan coming into this weekend, and then of course what you're able to take out as the week progressed and he continued to dominate.
My thoughts on Ivan coming in, I had taken a glimpse at a lot of the players that were maybe top 200 rated guys or top 250, which is most everybody, looking through kind of some of their stats and just getting some basic background of if I were to interview somebody, I would know at least something about what I'm talking about. So I come in and I have this flyover view of Ivan Pace. I've seen a couple of clips on Twitter maybe. And I say, okay, this is like a day 3 type of guy. He's somebody that I like the numbers. Doesn't seem like there's much that he can't do at the collegiate level. So I was saying, okay, we'll just see how he competes and maybe he'll end up being somebody we care about, because we came in, just for perspective, one of the reporters in the opening presser, a little breakout session after, asked Jim Nagy, they said, hey, Jim, we know O-line, D-line are probably the strongest spots, but what's the thinnest? And it was linebacker is what he said. And it got maybe even thinner throughout the week, as a lot of positions tend to do at the Senior Bowl. Right. So that Pace we knew was going to have a lot of opportunity for reps. So coming in, that was the thing of, okay, he's going to have his shot this week, and he sure took advantage.
There you go.
So I did want to get to the fact that you are a commentator for ESPN Plus, and you are the owner of WinstelMedia, which is why we were able to take you at your word for being down there and all of that. But, you were there also looking at a couple of receivers. So what were your takeaways as you saw Josh Whyle and you saw Trey Tucker down in Alabama?
Yeah, Trey Tucker was a fun one to watch. He's one that coming in, again, the first impression, wow, he is really small comparatively. Like, he's running out of the tunnel, and then some of the guys behind him were like DeJuan Jones, and some of those, they're 6'8". So it was coming out, I was saying, wow, he stood out because of not being very big. And going through the drills at receiver, we saw some quickness. And then one of the things that was impressive throughout the week was his ability, whether he was slot or boundary, to get open, to work the sidelines, to show that, in the NFL, because of his size, they might pigeonhole him into more of a slot position. That might be really where he gets his reps. But to see his versatility in the different drills of being able to go one-on-one with a corner and run a fade or run some of those routes on the boundary and still be able to win, I thought was impressive.
Then we'll wrap it up with Josh, and then we'll dive in a little bit further. But Josh is someone that Ryan actually was, Ryan, did you took in how many hits did you plant Josh on his keister, on his behind?
Every time they'd run the Y crosser over for the counter plays, I'd sniff it out like it was nothing. I just level Whyle into the ground every time. So don't let his Senior Bowl tape fool you, man. He can still get got.
And then you'd pump it up.
No, Josh, I remember when he first came, blocking was his struggle, and then just watching him develop, grow into his frame even more, but still remain athletic, man. He's going to be a force to watch out for in the NFL. I'm super pumped for him.
Yeah, and I will say, I don't know if this was a thought or if this is just how these guys are personality-wise, but it seemed like really all 3 of them had a message that they wanted to deliver to media or deliver on that side of things, because I ended up talking with a few other reporters about Ivan Pace and also about Whyle, and we had heard similar messages in the interview, almost whether we'd asked the same question or not. And the message with Pace was, he's the type of guy, my first impression of talking with him, we did an interview at the media breakfast, so a little more relaxed environment, and said, Ivan, what do we need to know about you? What do these scouts need to know about you? He just looks me dead in the eye, smiling, saying, don't worry about my height. You can't care about my height. He's like, you got to look at me as a player. And that was his message. He told, I think, 4 different reporters I talked to, like almost word for word. And the thing with Whyle, that was his message was he is, I believe he said 260 now. And he's at that weight, and he feels like he's a better blocker at that weight. So that was a thing that we heard multiple times out of him, Ryan.
And then his athleticism. What? His athleticism and his
Go ahead,
ability-
Ryan. Who
Go,
is the
Ryan.
guy cutting wood in the background?
That is so funny, dude. It's chopping wood.
Oh yeah,
The fire's gone. The fire expired. Now there's somebody just.
Sorry.
Greg Schiano is in your living room.
Hey,
Oh, that's good.
yeah. I'm
Keep
not
chopping,
sure how we
baby.
got on that channel now.
keep chopping. I like it.
It's fantastic.
Royer has the attention span of like a mouse. So
Okay.
you have to understand, any little thing, Royer will take us off on a tangent. That's why we love him.
Fair enough. I mean, I
Did
could
you know-
put it on the Coral Reef channel if you want. We got a few good
No,
ones
we're-
in here.
The
No,
fire's
fire's
back.
back. The
Got the
fire's
fire
back.
back.
Good.
He
Thank-
just had to chop more
The
wood for the fire.
is
We're
ready.
good.
Yep.
Down
The
wood.
wood's
You got the wood. Now did you know
Restocked.
Ryan Royer was Mr. Bearcat his senior year. He was
No.
actually invited to the Senior Bowl, but he got a job as an engineer, so he had to retire from football.
I told Nagy
He had a
to
brief
pull up-
Heisman campaign championed by Luke Fickle.
I said, Nagy, thanks, but no thanks. I got bigger fish to fry. So I had
Fair
to
enough.
politely decline my invite to the Senior Bowl.
So, Luke, tell us how you got involved with going to the Senior Bowl. I know that it's one of, for a lot of people, it's one of their favorite kind of events to attend because it's more of a, sure, we see the practices and we see, the game itself, but it's a lot more of what happens when the cameras aren't on the action. Is that something that really kind of drew you to it? Kind of the interactions that you can get with the players off the field and with other reporters and other media members as well.
Absolutely. We look on the field and the talent level is high. There's, probably going to be about 70, 75 guys drafted from this group, and that's being conservative. So that's definitely attractive. That's worth a trip. But when you look at who else is there, it's a networking, it's a who's who of the big names. It's a spot to be able to hang out and, get to see people like Sean Alexander and Ozzie Newsome that I got to talk with. And then, Ian Rappaport's there and the NFL Network crew and some of those guys. So really everybody that somebody is there. And if you want to be somebody, that's the place to go do it.
Okay.
Fair enough. So Josh goes in at 260, and we've not seen him at 260. I guess I'm curious to see like what your takeaways were in as far as his running routes at 260 were. Like, we know how open he can get on the fade route, especially. But how crisp was he moving at 260?
I think in terms of the movement, it was okay. The thing that was more impressive to me than the thing I noted with him more than separation was the making tough catches. They did a lot of like tight end versus safety type of work. So he's matching up against Chris Smith from Georgia, for example, and he's winning those battles or drawing a PI consistently. So those were the things that, to me, I didn't really see a ton of the crazy separation or some of those plays that y'all might be used to from him at the college level, but I saw him using that length to go up, get balls, secure things. So when he was playing safeties, it was a lot of mismatches in his favor that he took advantage of.
Man,
So
that's frustrating.
Yeah, he's good. So the game itself, Ivan kind of took over on the defensive side and had one play that you were able to get a couple of nice pictures up on your Twitter. Can you map out that play for us and kind of how talented those players are that Ivan kind of put in their spot and how that kind of shows, even if he's under 6 foot, he can still blow up two dudes that are supposed to be some pretty bona fide NFL players.
Absolutely. You look at what Pace was doing. There's a handoff coming around the right side. He's lined up, linebacker, and Osiris Torrance, who's got some first-round buzz coming out of Florida. If he doesn't go first round, he's early second. So we're talking about a top 50 player in the class for sure. Mm-hmm. And his ability to come in and, Torrance is somewhere around, I think he came in at 6 foot 4.7, something like that. And he's a big dude compared to Ivan especially. So Torrance is coming around, and for Ivan to just come in, and it almost seemed like he casually blew up the play. It wasn't like he was trying to, drive some bags over. It was Ivan coming over and almost finishing with a flourish. You saw one of the photos, his hands out like this, and Ivan's ability to not just read that play and react to it, but to go straight in, bang the lineman, and then you've got Oklahoma's running back coming right behind him and knocks Torrance into the running back, which is enough to completely end the play. That was one of the most impressive plays that we saw in that entire Senior Bowl from a defensive player.
Ryan, did you see that at all, that play?
I did. Yep. That's just textbook. Put your blocker right in the back. You don't have to do anything else.
We saw Cook do that too. Obviously a couple years ago, but still Brian Cook from Cincy. So, you were at the Senior Bowl last year as well. Are you starting to see an influx of Cincinnati talent there? Obviously, you were able to catch up with all three that were there this year, and then there were a handful, obviously, that were there last year. Kind of what can you see kind of as your pedigree of Georgia and Clemson, that you're kind of covering now? Now, all of a sudden, you're seeing Cincinnati, fresh in the Big 12. How are you seeing these players that they bring to the Senior Bowl recently stack up?
It's been really interesting to watch, and I think the respect towards the Cincinnati program is really growing nationally, because you look at some reporters that I've talked to, they're saying, a few years ago we weren't covering Cincinnati, but now to interview Ivan Pace even before some of these more, viral moments or these kinds of situations, people are lining up. I mean, I had to wait for two other reporters to interview him just to get to him. And I think in the past, unless it was, one of the larger prospects that Cincinnati's had, you weren't seeing that with this level. So seeing Desmond Ridder last year, I mean, we're lined up to get exclusives with him being a top quarterback at the Senior Bowl, and even talking about things. I remember last year, the accuracy and the placement of the front foot was such a big deal. And with him going to Atlanta, getting to see him start to try to progress into his NFL career. And Alec Pierce as well as a receiver, we saw what he could do. And he was one that I think really makes a good name for some of those Cincinnati types of players. He generated some buzz heading into the draft through the Senior Bowl in that process, but he didn't just live up to it. I think in some ways he really exceeded it. So Pierce and some of those guys, not just making it to the league, but going on and becoming those big names, is really, turning heads. When we see Cincinnati players, it means more now.
Yeah, I mean, Sauce has taken over the NFL by storm. With a single name like no one has done in a very long time. So you mentioned that you did talk with Alec Pierce and with Des last year. What were some of your takeaways in interviewing them, and what you felt about them before they even got to the draft itself?
Yes. So last year they were still under a lot of COVID protocols with interviewing, so we weren't able to be as up close and personal as we were this year. So it was a little social distance. So as much as we can gather from that with Ridder, he was very ready to answer a lot of questions about some of the flaws in his game at the time that people saw, especially, people were asking about film from that Alabama game, of breaking down certain things. So with Ridder last year, again, a lot of it had to do with, the accuracy, the consistency. What are you hearing from these NFL teams? Because at this point a year ago, we weren't sure if he was a first rounder or a day 2 pick, or really quite where he fell. So that was one of the first chances we got to gauge. And I remember with Ridder, one thing that was good at the beginning, had a couple of throws on day 1 that were kind of head scratchers of that. That didn't look like the guy that we saw in college, or that wasn't quite the throw for the next level. But then day 2, a little bit better. I think that was the rain day. And day 3, he was, even sharper from what I remember. So his ability to progress throughout the week was something that really helped him move in that draft. And Pierce as well, somebody that just wasn't the type of guy. Like this year we saw Tank Dell from Houston just burning people on routes, 10 yards of separation. Didn't see that level from Pierce, but we did see him be very consistent throughout the week, and that was something that made a really good impression on people.
So what's your intel? What's your thought? Obviously, Des finished the final four games. You live in the Atlanta area. What's the pulse down there on Des getting handed the keys to the car next year, or what are your projections, your ideas?
Yeah, the pulse down here is that it's a 4-game sample. So either way, if you react too heavily, I think you're a little too strong on the emotion there. So we saw the first game is like 97 yards, not great, but then the ability throughout the year to help the team pick up a couple of wins and show that, this offense that has a really good run game, so Ritter's protected a little bit there, has, some potential to move up. So for the Falcons, one of the things that they look at now with draft position, because of some of the work that Ritter did at 8, your top 3 quarterbacks probably are off the board there. So there's not maybe a rush unless they want to trade up to go get somebody. So I think we're looking at Ritter getting more opportunity going forward because, again, 4 games, you can't really break down a guy on that or make a call. So I think there's going to be more opportunity for Ritter unless there's some kind of a trade.
Okay.
Now, were you covering Georgia when they played in the Peach Bowl against Cincinnati?
I did not get to cover Georgia in that game, no.
Okay, but as a fan, I'm sure you were watching.
Definitely watching. That's one game that you can't miss. I remember, Jack Podlesny, the man who made the kicker. I hate to bring up a sore memory, but he was at the Senior Bowl, and that was a question that we did talk about.
Well, I was just going to say
yeah. I know.
You're out. You're out. All right, this was great, Luke. See you later.
I was just going to say Ryan was actually at that game as well in uniform. So,
Yep.
Breaking my goddamn heart.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You remember the crazy guy on the sidelines with all the paint on his face?
Oh, that was just last year. That was only 5th year, man, not 4th.
You weren't painted up for the Sugar or for the Peach Bowl?
No.
But if you look him up,
only.
there's a nice GIF of you on Twitter running out though. From the Peach Bowl, Ryan. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not me in the game, just running around before.
just running out. Yeah. Well,
Ryan did get a Make-A-Wish block punt in his career.
The whole team, the ECU just kind of all just fell on the ground. I went up, blocked the punt, everyone cheered. It was great.
Perfect.
There we go. So the next step for everyone that went to the Senior Bowl obviously would most likely be combine. So do you see, now that you've kind of gotten the measurements and look at some of these players, what do you think they need to do to kind of turn heads a little bit more, even at the combine? Whether it be speed of Trey Tucker, whether it be, the intangibles that outside of just size that Ivan brings, then maybe even other prospects from Cincinnati. If you've been able to kind of give a little bit of look or thought on them as well.
Gotcha. So in terms of, this is where it gets tough for Ivan. It's like, what more can he really prove? I mean, 100+ tackle season, the tape's good. Right. You turn on Senior Bowl tape. Someone had mentioned to him, I think it maybe was one of the coaches, that they didn't think he could cover. And that became a big deal for Ivan. So they did Senior Bowl. They do these drills, running back versus linebacker. And of course they do pass rush and they do coverage. And Ivan throughout the week got better, but day 3 really in coverage was fairly locked down. And seeing some of those things of every time they seem to tell him that he can't do something or he isn't cut out for this, it's like, what more can he prove at this point? I think he's shown a lot. So I think continuing to show the instincts, to show that he's got the high football IQ, we already know that, but just continuing to put more out there on that, I think is good. But for Trey, the speed, I'll be just fascinated to see where he lands on that scale, because for someone that comes in around that 5'7" range, give or take an inch, is, they're looking for that. So where's Trey going to be in speed? I think his route running is solid. If he can get a little crisper, then the more the merrier. And for Whyle as well, I'd be curious to see the strength numbers and where he weighs in there at the combine as well, to see around 260. How does he, stick in the NFL? He showed some good blocking reps this week. So continuing to do that and then getting to see him work with some more different quarterbacks. And quite frankly, I'm excited to see him catch passes from a better group of quarterbacks, being totally honest. So that's one thing I'd look forward to.
Yeah, that one pass to Trey, it looked like he could, if it was a little bit further in front of him, he probably would have been able to turn that one up for some extra. But yeah.
That goes for Trey too. The quarterback group at the Senior Bowl was, there were some guys that, hey, this is a great 5th round pick, but it's like, all right, these guys deserve a little better at receiver.
Yeah.
Brent, I told Chad the night that we did the nightcap talking about the Senior Bowl. I wish that Trey and Josh both had played on the American team as opposed to the national team, where they threw the ball 43 times as opposed to 24 times. I mean, just slinging it everywhere.
Would have been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think it does for Trey? I believe he topped out at Cincinnati at 4.29, 4.27. If he's able to run something like that, what do you think that's going to do for his draft stock?
Yeah, I think Trey is really the question for him. To me, looks like a day 3 guy. It's a matter of where in day 3 are we looking at. So the speed moves him up, towards round 4, round 5. They've got at the Senior Bowl here, I'm checking this out for you. They've got this Zebra technology that looks at their top miles per hour, and Trey Tucker hit a 20.24 mile per hour top speed at the Senior Bowl. So he was one of those 10 or so, 11 guys that were able to be above that threshold. So for him to continue to separate, I like the stuff that they do at the Zebra, in-game speed, because we can look at a 40, but when we see a guy hit, like Riley Moss, the corner from Iowa, hit 20.5 or 21.55 in game, and seeing that of like, okay, when the ball's in play, these guys turn it on. So Trey's a 20 plus and proved that at the Senior Bowl. So continuing on those numbers, I think will push him maybe somewhere towards the 5th round.
No surprise there.
Yeah. Nothing groundbreaking on that one.
No, not at all. Aaron, you got anything else?
No, I mean, we broached the Peach Bowl that we don't like to talk about. We talked a little bit of Falcons, and we got to the guys that were there last year at the Senior Bowl, and they're again this year at the Senior Bowl. Unfortunate that guys like Sauce, guys like Tyler Scott aren't able to do anything in any type of bowl game because they're not seniors technically. But it just is what it is. But no, just excited that the Bearcats continue to make a name for themselves in these types of situations, and happy to have somebody here to talk about it.
Yeah, and one thing Trey mentioned as well that was interesting. Just to drop this in, he talked about how in practice his battles with Sauce Gardner around sophomore year for him, he actually had a couple of wins, and that really built his confidence. And the way he said it when we're on camera, he's like, "I'm not going to tell you who won, but I think you know what I'm talking about." So Trey was a funny guy in that way, and he was talking about, him and Sauce used to really go at it, and their competitiveness could kind of go toe for toe, and those guys are, some that really used the, iron to sharpen iron in a way. So that was one with Trey that we look at, okay, Cincinnati, he's battle tested, he's been against this guy in practice, so that was a positive note as well.
Yeah, I mean, the battles between Alec Pierce and Sauce were unbelievable as well. And Kobe Bryant too, Brian Cook as well, Arquan Bush, another guy looking to get drafted this year. So yeah, those in-game battles are pretty in practice battles, I guess, were pretty awesome to watch. But Luke, you want to tell everyone else a little bit more about you, kind of how everyone can follow you and keep up with you, because I know you're budding name in the industry. So
thank you.
Go ahead and let the Bearcat faithful know a little bit more about you.
For sure. Well, there's not too many Luke Winstels out there, so I'm lucky. My social media handle is just my name. It's at Luke Winstel. And overall, I travel around, do some broadcast work for ESPN Plus, covering some Southern Conference, smaller Division I type schools, cover the high school recruiting circuit in the South all the way up to NFL draft and the talent acquisition processes around college football for some various outlets. So it's definitely a lot of fun. Get to see a lot of good things and get to talk to a lot of interesting people, especially around here, around Georgia and Alabama in this area.
There we go, man. You know what? Now we just can't wait to get into the Big 12, see what the Bearcats do with that that vaunted P5 next to their name. But so we'll see. We'll see what happens next. Aaron, you want to go ahead and say goodbye to Luke and get us out?
No, thank you. And if the Bearcats are good enough next year to have some more guys there, we have no idea what we have for next year, so we'll see. But if we're good enough to have any guys there, I'll reach out again and we'll have you on. But thanks again for your time tonight. We appreciate it, Luke.
That'd be great. Thank you for your time. Y'all have a good one.
Appreciate it, Luke. Thanks, brother.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Luke.
you.
See you,
See ya.
man. Luke Winstel, the man. I've heard really good things about going to the Senior Bowl and how kind of fun it is. I'm trying to remember what it seems like. Just kind of where everyone hangs out in a big hotel lobby type setting and just kick back and meet people, and it's more about the interactions, like I was saying, off the camera than it is what you're really putting on tape, because you got 4 years of tape to go on from that. So. Deanna,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
The big 4-0, spending it with the BBP. How about that? I love it.
For $5, Ryan Royer will sing you happy birthday.
Okay.
You did it. Congratulations.
What, hit the 4-0?
Yep.
Oh. Congrats. You want to put a timestamp on that one there?
Sure thing.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I just typed timestamp.
Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. Quick Paper Services. Over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick at 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
That's our time with Luke Winstel. So, guys, I guess kind of just a broad overview. We'll try and wrap up football as a whole. First off, did you guys watch the Pro Bowl at all this weekend?
No, I will not be wasting my time with that garbage.
Man, I like on a Sunday after I have a long Saturday, it's like just throw on ESPN and just let it slowly, take me into Monday. Man, I have no idea what that even was. The whole thing was just kind of strange, but
flag football.
No, way more than flag football. They were doing like 1,000 different things. But anyway, a bunch of Sauce Gardner coverage, a bunch of, mentions here and there, Sauce. And then, of course, got the Super Bowl coming up with more Bearcat mentions. Had the Senior Bowl, had the Shrine Game, all these different mentions of Cincinnati. And to me, I loved how the new staff went down to the Senior Bowl, caught up with all the Bearcats that were down there. They're kind of owning this whole and even the new Chad was it the new blast for 2024? You can start reaching out to them. Is that just recently happened? And, they're diving into the whole Sauce, attack and approach to recruiting there. It's awesome seeing the new staff dive into what is kind of right there in front of them and what's fresh and what's new and available that's currently making their way to the NFL. Aaron, what do you think?
Well, I didn't love the graphic. I thought it was a reach with the 2-4 and Sauce and all that. I thought it was. I didn't quite understand.
Rumble, rumble, yell at cloud.
I wasn't going to give my opinion, but he asked me. I was going to stay quiet on it.
Aaron's angry tonight. He had a rough day.
It looked like it said too much for Sauce. I thought it said too much for Sauce. That's what I thought. And apparently I was told I was old and didn't understand.
Yeah, a little.
It's accurate.
It's fine.
Using the 4 as an A. Ryan, what do you think about that look? I like it. I like the Big 12 logo down there. The S.
It's cool. It was a cool little. It's definitely a rebrand. That's for sure. I wasn't really. It's not something I'm used to, but you got to have your own thing. You got to have your own image moving forward, your own style. So I'm excited to see what more.
They come up with a new slogan every year for every recruiting class. UC's used hometown heroes, and a couple others. This is just what this staff is using for 2024. It is, I mean, it's not something I put too much stock in.
Right.
Nobody's picking UC because or not picking UC on the strength of their recruiting slogan for 2024.
I mean, they're just capturing the hot name as well, which is good to kind of do that as well. But I don't know. I guess I'm fine with it. It mentions the hot name that's out there, and Aaron's got to pull it up right here. 24.
Too much sauce.
The more I think about it, I think it's honestly terrible. If you want me to be honest, too much sauce. I don't want to shit on the new crew, but I think it's dumb. I'll be honest. Too much sauce.
Apparently,
I don't want to think about sauce and football. They don't go with me. Like
too much sauce.
I get
too much sauce.
Let's get some saucy players. Like that just sounds dumb.
There's a new song, "Too Much Sauce." I don't know anything about it, but
not a new song. It's too much sauce. Too much sauce. But yeah, I mean that's that. But I more just kind of wow.
Oh,
whoa,
wow.
Did Joe drive all the way to your house? That's why you've been off camera this whole time.
He didn't. No, he drove all the way to the radio station. I already told that story.
Well, I know, but I didn't know if you drove by and said, "Put the beanie on now."
No, Aaron doesn't like when there's 5 people in a shot. So I let him ask questions today, and I dropped out because it messes with his OCD when there's 5 people in a shot.
The aesthetic.
Just everyone's screen gets smaller, and I don't know.
Because they're old, Tonk. Because they're old. Even though Ryan's young, he's old.
I'm closer to 40 than 30, Tonk.
Tonk, I was just singing it. Anyway, Ryan, so when you chat with your buddies, your pals that go through this draft process, kind of I'm sure they each have a different approach to it. They each kind of have a different feeling about it, but what's kind of their overall view? Is it kind of time to put the head down and work on getting my full-time job, or is it kind of more I want to prove everyone wrong, or is it kind of a different case for each person from what you've been able to gather?
It seems to be it always comes down to like being the best them, kind of like there are like I know there are some cases where guys have been kind of like, oh, like I feel like I got kind of like looked over or picked over type stuff. But at the end of the day, it's kind of I think it's like an excitement. It's like a time. It's like now it's all football all the time. I can go lock in and have nothing else to worry about in my life except this. And I was always like super jealous of that. I thought it was fun because it's like I go to work 9 to 5 now. It's like when you think about it, oh, I'd be treating football like 9 to 5. And that's like what they get to do. I think they really enjoy it. And it's something they really look forward to. No school, no classes. Because let's be honest, no one wants to be doing all that, especially when you got NFL talent. All you're thinking about is getting to the NFL when you're finally there. I think it's just guys are just ready to go and just get better.
Yeah, no, I think about that quite a lot. Just kind of, if I put all the hours I put towards work to something else, you know what, maybe I could hone a craft and become really good at that. But, different life for a different time. But yeah, I'm always interested to see because, it sounded like Ivan's kind of taking that approach of like, I'm doubted. I need to prove everyone wrong. And it might be Alec who kind of had the approach of like, I know what I can do. It's time to lock in and get prepared for this next step. And, I'm sure kind of the same for Josh. And then Trey also is running into that kind of height and size predicament, but he's like, I'm faster than everyone. I've gone up against a lot of people. So kind of excited to see how that all pans out from here on out. So that's good. And anything else football wise? Got the Super Bowl coming up. Do we have Super Bowl predictions? Do we want that now? We going to?
Well, we're not going to be on until after the Super Bowl. So.
Right. Quick bet, Fred, and we'll wrap up football and talk about this blazing hot basketball team.
Kelce wins.
Oh, wow.
A Kelce brother will be crowned champion.
I got Eagles.
Okay.
I was leaning Eagles. Did you know the Eagles have never beaten the Chiefs since Andy Reid left? Andy Reid's undefeated against his old team when he's in Kansas City. So I mean, the Eagles obviously are a bit that like they've evolved a lot over the past couple of years, and they're a much different team now.
Mm-hmm.
The question being like, how is Mahomes' ankle? Because that Eagles defense, their front seven get after the quarterback, and Mahomes having to like the Bengals didn't get after him enough. They didn't move him enough. The Eagles are going to move him. So how much do the 2 extra weeks factor in to Mahomes being able to escape the pocket a little bit? I think I'm going with Kansas City.
Chad, you bring up a good point. It's like, hobbled Mahomes. Why not send the house a lot? But I guess it opens up the ability for him to find open receivers and whatnot. But still, it's like if you can't really move too much, then why does it matter? But
the Eagles really don't send a lot of heat. They're just really good with their front four.
Yeah.
Getting after the quarterback. So I think that's going to be an issue for Mahomes. But, man, I don't know. Like,
that's going to be good for Kelce.
The way he made plays, just the dude is so impressive with his ability to find a way to get the ball out and find somebody that's making a play for his team.
I hate him.
Okay. Good input. Thanks.
Plain and simple.
I mean, you can hate him. He's awesome
hater.
at football.
This weather, I hate it.
Hater.
Aaron, what do you think about puppies? Fuck puppies.
That one barked at me. I hate him.
Steak, fuck puppies, fuck Patrick Mahomes.
Put it up. Print the shirt. Print the shirt.
Just hate. And we can use the A as like a thing, and then it'll go Aaron down. Like hate.
Down below,
Aaron. Yeah.
It's called an acronym.
Not necessarily, because we're not going to do one for H or the T or the E. So
just the A.
Just the A.
It's like a crossword puzzle.
Yeah. Oh, we could do hates with an S.
People, it was just so stupid.
Smith down on the S.
Smith, yeah, that works.
Aaron hates puppies.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good one, Lambig.
Aaron, your quick prediction. Throw it out there.
Go Eagles. That's my quick prediction.
All right.
Are you gonna watch?
No, I don't care about the Super Bowl in any way, shape, or form. I've checked out.
So fascinating.
What are you gonna watch?
How many Super Bowls have you not watched?
There's been a couple.
What have you done?
I just check out. I played video games or not watch the Super Bowl.
What you play?
2K, Madden.
Sports guy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Royer thought he was going to get you in the game with the Blanco and little Call of Duty.
You don't want to get in the game with the Blanco. He'll make you have no fun.
I don't want any part of any of that. I hate
Aaron, what about the commercials and Bad Girl Riri at halftime?
They've been terrible the last couple of years too. The commercials have been horrendous the last couple of years.
Aaron hates Super Bowl commercials.
Rihanna.
He hates Rihanna.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's criminal.
That's rough.
It's all available the next day if it's any good to watch.
Super Bowl commercials actually don't even hold them for the Super Bowl anymore. They're all mostly out already.
And we got the boy Chris Stapleton singing the national anthem.
You got the over or the under, Ryan?
I haven't thought about it yet. I know he's got some soul to him, so he might go over.
Too much hate.
Yeah. I agree. A little soul to take the over.
See, this is our job when you're cranky like this, Aaron. We got to get you to laugh and like lighten up. You've had a rough day. It's the job of the commenters to brighten your mood.
I don't hate them.
Yes, you do sometimes.
Jeez. So the hate's all for us three.
I don't hate anybody.
Go ahead.
Go, Ryan.
I was just saying, I'm doing parlay $50.
Ready?
over national anthem
Okay.
and opening kickoff touchback.
Okay.
What do you think we're hit? What do you
much
think
does it
that is?
pay?
Plus, that's got to be like plus 300.
So you think, but on the national anthem, one of them will be like pretty drastic one way.
You
It,
think?
like last year, the over was like minus 300,
Really?
which means someone like got a
Oh,
little
they
bit
go
of-
to the
got
rehearsal and
the
they
word
hear.
out,
Yeah.
and then the under's this amount, and then so you're like, do I just bet the under to just take it? But I'll let you know what my sources say. I normally have a decent source when it comes to this.
We need to get Katzowitz, Josh Katzowitz. Josh Katzowitz used to cover the Bearcats. He actually worked for Bearcat Layer, the old version of what is now Bearcat Journal, and he used to time every national anthem at every sporting event he covered.
Okay.
And he had a
Why?
notebook that was just strictly for I don't know. The data points, I guess. Maybe it started. We'd have to get him on and ask him. Maybe it started from like the Super Bowl prop bet or something.
I got another idea, but
Yeah.
I don't even want to know. I don't even want to
Ryan,
know.
did you have any like routine that you did during the national anthem, or was it kind of just? No, I mean,
well,
seriously.
we weren't. You were just setting me up for a dumbass answer.
I'm trying to
we
get
weren't
Royer
out there.
canceled.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I mean normally like some
we
people
weren't
would-
out there for it.
Oh yeah, true. You
I
guys
mean,
went
I got a
out
funny
afterwards.
story regarding the national anthem about my buddy in high school. He it was like his first time starting varsity, and he just pissed his pants during the national anthem.
Just like he
And then
he
went
saw,
out there and played a full football game in his own
He's-
piss.
He saw what's his
Piss
name.
dogs.
He saw No Sean Moreno cry, that one time, and then he was like, "All right, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the tears. The tears just didn't come out of the eyes. They came out of the nether region."
That Moreno cry, they squirted from his face. I've never seen anything like that. That's insane.
It was wild, very wild. But yeah, that's Betfred talk for you for the Super Bowl, the Kelce Bowl, featuring Brian Cook. Is that what we're gonna call it? Probably. I mean,
Also
sticking on
starring Brian Cook.
also starring. I like it.
Starring Jason Kelce, Travis
Hey.
Kelce. Also starring Brian Cook.
And also, Chad, they took your idea of getting Mr. Kelce and Mrs. Kelce off.
Now I know why Jason didn't respond.
He's like,
'Cause he
well,
didn't
that's
want-
a good idea.
No, that's been in the works all year. The people have wanted Ed and Donna on the New Heights, and this was the perfect week. I'm about halfway through the mom interview, and it is hilarious, like hilarious.
Are bagel
she
bites
is so
vegetables?
funny.
That's the question.
No. Why would bagel bites be vegetables?
It
Yeah,
was,
it's so funny. They keep asking who she wants to win, and she says offense. And then they're like, well, I would save you if you and Dad were drowning on a boat.
That's the New Heights recap from Kelce.
I like it.
Thanks. You want to do that every week? You want to come in and recap what happens on New Heights? Okay.
My baby daddy.
Get out.
My baby daddy.
Get out.
Travis Kelce's my baby daddy.
Oh, can we strike that from the record?
Yeah.
That being said, this was a way better graphic that the
Yes.
football team put out.
Yeah. It is
Look at
fun.
Trav with the flowing locks. Get that man a headband.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Those are
He's
some
a New Heights
serious
headband.
lobby claws the boys got flowing right now.
Oh yeah, baby.
I think
Like it.
one of my favorites last week was them joking around about how thick their eyelashes were so thick that in all the pictures the sun doesn't actually make it to their eyes. I think they have permanent sunglasses because their eyebrows are so thick.
I can see it. I can see it.
Oh boy.
Well, that's talking football, talking Super Bowl, talking Kelce Bowl on the BBP.
Yeah, G-Mac, that was weird. She's grounded for a week.
Yeah.
That was
Let's go
the
ahead.
first and last New Heights recap.
Yeah.
Kelsey.
We tried it out. Segment didn't work.
I was
been
not
86.
expecting that. I stepped away from my
Escalated
computer,
quickly.
but I had my headphones in. I was like, "What in the hell?"
Oh, Christ.
Well, that's the quick paper supply timestamp.
Again, unfortunate location for quick paper supply.
Wait, what was it last week when you dropped? What did we say?
I don't
said
even
some
remember. It was so
dumbass
bad, I
thing.
don't even remember.
Something about
That's probably
eggs
best.
Oh, I
and-
remember the mini corn dog party.
Yeah.
Was it-
Oh,
boy.
yeah. Okay.
Quick Paper Supply produces products like to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins, etc. They've been open since 2009 and are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick at 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Very good. Thank you. Quick paper supply for your timestamps. Guys, basketball. The basketball team, your Cincinnati Bearcats, went 2-0 this past week with a really, really strong win over Tulsa and then another equally strong win over UCF, the Central Florida Golden Knights. And it was one where they were up 16 in the second half at one point. UCF clawed their way back. Taylor Hendricks on the Knights is a definite NBA prospect. He kind of showed that towards the latter half. And, sure, you can point out the now 5-game losing streak that UCF is on, but they're a good team. And when a good team needs to hone in and come together and try and, work their way back in, they're gonna do what they can, and they went on a run. But that's when Cincinnati didn't back down. They didn't cower. They stood up, and they came out with a victory, 73-64. That is also a cover. But aside from that,
It almost wasn't a cover.
it was very close.
It was a millimeter away from not a cover. Tell Royer your bet that lost.
Man, our good friend Landers Nolly, he a phenomenal game, and he's having a great stretch run. But his dunk there at the end that missed. I don't know if you watched the entire game, Ryan, but
I turned it off.
he had 17 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists combined. Did not quite get the dunk to take the over, but hey, here we are.
Damn.
But
He makes the dunk, Brent hits the over.
but the team as a whole, back-to-back big wins, and that's what you're supposed to do when you want to take that next step towards development and progression. Ryan, I got to pass it down to you because the first thing you said when you popped on air pre-show was, how about that basketball team? A couple of good wins this past week. Kind of what are you seeing? Is this – I'm getting vibes of a team that's finding their stride towards the latter portion of the season.
Well, because we saw just how well they played for large parts of the Houston game, like a game they should have won. And they seemed to correct everything we were complaining about the week before. And like, how the hell did they still lose? But they seemed to figure out those minor adjustments that they needed to figure out for Houston and carry them right into Tulsa, put an ass whipping on them. Davenport stepping up huge, first time all season, needed that. And then I think they're just carrying the momentum right into UCF. Like you said, a good UCF team, they might be struggling, but I think the Bearcats are just hitting their stride right when they needed to. And I was saying we needed to win 3 out of those 4. We had 4 tough games in a row, and they're putting themselves right in position to do that, coming up with Tulane. So it's an away game. You got to win the road games, and they got
Tomorrow night's a big one, man.
They got all the momentum for it right now. This is the best they've looked all year in a 3-game stretch. So I like what I'm seeing. I think it just shows the potential and the coaching, that making adjustments, players responding finally, and things are starting to fall their way. So got to take care of that. Keep that going tomorrow.
Chad, you mentioned it's a big game. The vibes that the team has right now, the kind of the ability that they've had to not only take care of the point scoring, but kind of the defense and the toughness that they've shown as well. that's got to bode solid for when they head on the road. Such a quick turnaround from UCF, but still a Tuesday night game at Tulane. It's got to bode well, kind of the emotions around the team right now.
Sure, but you're going to have to do both against Tulane. Tulane's a team that can score a lot. They can score in bunches. Mm-hmm. And they've got a three-headed monster, very much like UC does. Two guards and a big. Cincinnati's a guard, a wing, and a big, but same situation, essentially.
Yeah.
Tulane is not a good defensive team. So you're going to have to put points on the board against them. You cannot come out and have a bad night offensively where you miss good looks.
Right.
You've got to make the looks you get. You've got to make your good looks. And you've got to play the level of defense that you've been playing over the past 6 weeks or so. Do you know the KenPom metrics say since the start of conference play, Cincinnati has the number one defense in the conference?
Yeah, they do.
A defense better than Houston in conference play.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to keep that up. That has to travel. They have to really shut down what Tulane wants to do and then be good on offense.
Yeah, they're number one defensive efficiency, number one effective field goal percentage, number one offensive rebounding defense, which means limiting the other team from getting offensive rebounds. Number one in 2-point percentage defense, and then they're forcing more threes.
Two and 3-point percentage defense.
Yeah, number three. Yeah, but they're forcing teams to take threes, and then they're not limiting teams' ability to get assists that lead to field goals made. So they're honestly doing exactly what a lot of people probably didn't expect the team to do after some of the early defensive struggles that they had.
Look, they were brutal on defense in November and through most of December. They were brutal.
Yep.
Teams were getting whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted.
Yep.
And now they're playing together. They're playing connected. They've got a presence in Vic that is altering games at the rim. He's maybe not the most explosive shot blocker in the world, but he's become a steady rim presence defensively for this team. They are recovering. They're playing gaps. They're playing positional defense really well. I don't recall a team going from as bad as they were defensively early to playing at the level defensively that they have been over the past couple weeks. It's impressive. You have to not only tip your cap to Wes, but tip your cap to the team for buying in without their two best defenders and saying, we're buying what coach is selling, and we're going to turn into a good defensive team come hell or high water.
Yeah, this is what I was expecting out of them to start the year. This is the kind of style of basketball I thought Wes Miller was going to bring, and I think it's taken them a lot longer, maybe not to buy into it, but maybe just to resonate a little bit more with them and to get them to really adjust their playing style around.
Ryan, I think also you have to take into consideration their two best defenders have played a grand total of 8 games or whatever it is. They were relying on, we've got offense in Dave and Landers, and we think Vic is going to take a big jump on the offensive end. And then defensively, we'll have Fennessy and Newman to kind of round that out.
Yeah.
And the two defensive guys go out. Usually you don't recover from that, much less recover to play at the level that they're playing defensively late.
It's scary for next year.
It's scary for going forward what we are seeing now that Wes Miller is getting buy-in from his guys, where this program can go if guys continue to buy in at this level.
Yeah. Yep. Another crazy thing Chad, we mentioned all those stats that Cincinnati's defense has in conference play. The only defensive stats that they're kind of struggling in are turnovers and steal percentage. And you heard Wes in the post game talk about how he knew that that's something that they had struggled with up to that point. So they made it an emphasis heading into that UCF game. And what do? They record the most turnovers in Wes Miller's tenure, record the most steals since 2015. It's just this it's not just a coincidence that so many things have happened this season where you're saying it's the first time since yada yada that this is
Can
happening.
you imagine how hard it is to do something that's the first time since Quadri Moore was on the team?
Man, I don't miss that guy.
Oh, I miss him. He's great. yeah,
Yeah.
but no, it's crazy to think about that.
No.
Like Farad Cobb was the leading stealer of that team. Well, not the theft artist, but if you will. But yeah, it's not a coincidence that all this is happening with these teams. So it's really something that I like to see. Aaron, your thoughts? A couple days removed. Cincinnati 73, UCF 64. They had a 16-point lead in the second half. It evaporated.
Yeah.
It evaporated. Yeah. Tied 60-all with 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the game kind of started to get to it got really scary, and they played better when Jeremiah Davenport fouled out. That's not necessarily always going to be the case. It's not what I'm parading, but in this particular game, that was the case. Micah was also not on his best game. That said, they overcame some shortcomings by a couple of guys and were able to finish strong. Especially, we've covered it this entire conversation, but defensively, when you got Vic with 4 steals, you've got Landers with 5 steals. I mean, 16 as a team is crazy. Vic's got, Chad and I talked about it, but Vic has hands that people just, I don't know how they don't know about it yet, but maybe they just aren't planning properly for how fast he is down low, or even coming up from behind, one of the guards, because he's poked a couple away from a guard bringing the ball up court. He's not afraid to get in there and see what happens. So I don't know. It's exciting. That we all know they're playing their best ball of the season. That's not a secret at this point. That said, it's a tough schedule coming up for the last 7 games, and we talked about that too. I don't feel good that a lot of those big games are on the road with UCF, with Tulane, with Memphis.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. You got to win those. Show me that you can win these games, that you're supposed to win these big games that you're supposed to win. Right now, I haven't seen on the road this team win games that they need to win. So
they're probably going to be underdogs in all of those games. Maybe
They
not
are.
UCF. So you say they're supposed to win them. They need to win them. They're not supposed to win them.
I mean, you're supposed to. You want to be.
I know what you said.
You want to be the second best team in the conference, then be the second best team in the conference.
They're 1.5-point dogs tomorrow night. But I think it's kind of you can look at it both ways. I'm sure Tulane, UCF, and Memphis are also looking like, wow, Cincinnati's catching their stride. They've got, Landers Nolly's playing like a conference player of the year candidate. David DeJulius is playing like a 6-year senior that's putting the team on his back at times. Vic Locken's playing like he's going to be the best player in the conference, maybe when it's all said and done. It's just, I think it can go both ways. Yes, you get a little haunted when you see those teams on the road, especially that Cincinnati is their best road win is at Wichita State this year. But you also see it both ways. I'm sure a lot of teams probably don't want to play Cincinnati the way that they've been playing, over the past few games. So I don't know. I agree with you in a sense that yes, the tough games on the road are ahead, but I think the toughest games already came and went, and those were the Houston games. And now it's just about going out. And like you said, Aaron, I agree. They aren't favored to win. I think they're 1.5-point dogs for tomorrow, like I said. But still, it's one of those where if you've known Cincinnati through and through, you're like, hey, they're going to go to Tulane, and they're going to win this I almost said football. They're going to win this basketball game. And if it was football, they're going to win that damn football game too. I don't know. I agree with you.
As long as it's not a Nippert.
Oh.
Pain.
Yeah, well, but they didn't have a coaching staff then. So, but Ryan, so when it comes to playing a team twice, whether it be for you guys, it would just be the AAC and then the AAC championship game. You know what I mean? Is it something different that you kind of take into that second game? Obviously, basketball is quite different with the amount of games that come throughout the season, but you harp on the strengths and the weaknesses that you had from the first matchup, Or do you kind of think, okay, it's a clean slate. Let's take a look at what this team has done in the game since.
You look at what they did, what they exposed on your end, and what you exposed on their end, and then, but it's going to come down to making adjustments because, I mean, it's not going to be the same game. The same things aren't going to play out, but you know their guys, you know their sets, maybe you know what they lean on, and you're just going to be ready for that. But you just got to go play the game, and it's always hard to beat a team twice. It goes both ways. If so. It's just you can't act like you're going to get the same performance, the same team exactly, but you know that at least a couple of their things, or how maybe how their guys looking to attack you, or how their team in general is looking to attack you. So nothing crazy, but you do know a little bit.
Yeah, because I always think it'll be interesting because every game from here on out is a team that Cincinnati's played already. So kind of a quick glimpse to, hey, a month ago this happened. Let's go ahead and make sure to correct those. Aaron, do you remember that first Tulane game at all back in December 29th?
I mean, I remember that they held the point guard. His name evades me right now, but they held him to, I think, 15. And he was their leading scorer at the time. I'm sure he probably still is, but
Jalen Cook, yeah, he's a good player. There were I think 43 fouls called throughout the entire game.
That's the biggest thing is you've got Tulane was what 24 of 28 from the line in that one.
Yeah,
it was something silly,
right?
And UC still pretty much dominated the game, but like that's what even allowed them to keep it somewhat respectable. 25
and 28, yeah. But in those games, it's like there's really no flow. You know what I mean? And I mean, Cincinnati was 18 to 24, but I mean, the key in that game was the players actually kind of been struggling a bit for Cincinnati recently, and that Mike Adams-Woods had a great game. But you know, if he can kind of return to the strength there, yeah, Ron Hunter was that was interesting.
Awkward.
That was interesting.
Inappropriate.
Interesting.
But I don't know. It's it feels so long ago. Like that feels like it was ages ago. But you know, they're back. And
Kelly had only been in the hospital for 2 days.
Yeah.
At that point in time. That's how long ago that was.
Yeah, that was the first game you weren't able to go to, Chad. So it was a lot has happened since then. Let's just put it that way.
A lot.
But you know, the Green Wave, they're gonna, like you said, they're gonna score the basketball. Defense travels, rebounding travels.
But the reality is, Cincinnati put up 88 in that first game.
They did.
13 for Vic, 18 for Micah, 13 for Dave, 23 for Landers, 10 for Jeremiah. Dan had 7, Odie had 4. Like, they did not provide a whole lot of resistance. Cincinnati shot 50% from the floor. Shockingly, only 32% from 3, 8 of 25.
Right.
Like, that could have been worse. That could have been a 95-point game. But Cincinnati was 18 of 24 from the line. Tulane was 25 of 28. There was just a shit ton of fouls.
Right.
43 fouls in that game between the two teams. That's criminal for two good teams. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, quickly looking at it, Tulane has only scored under 74 in one game since, and that was their loss at home to Houston, 80 to 60. I mean, they're a team that's going to score. They play kind of that frantic defense as well, trying to turn you over a bunch. I mean, it's just, you know, it's Jalen Cook, Jalen Forbes, and Kevin Cross. Those three, that's going to be the same three that go at you. They all average 15 or more points, and so it's going to be mano-a-mano, and it lines up exactly for DDJ, lock one of them down, Micah, lock one down, and Rob, when you come in the game, lock one of them down, and then Vic, down low in the post, you and Kevin Cross. So I don't know. Should be an exciting one. And then of course, South Florida on Saturday night afterwards. So it's a chance to keep the ball rolling, man. Because college basketball is a little strange right now, and if Cincinnati can get hot the way that they've been playing recently, I feel like they would enter that AAC tournament, hopefully on the opposite side of where Houston is, with a lot of momentum, and see what happens. So, anything else basketball wise that you guys are kind of feeling, or thoughts on your brain that you need to express?
Day, I didn't know that this was even possible. I guess there's a JUCO signing period right now, but Day made it official.
Yeah,
signs with Cincinnati, so that one's in the books. He is locked in, along with Jizzle and Ray. So you've got your 2 guards and a wing that you needed in this class, and time to go out and get a big man.
So, have you been on to talk Day yet? Was that before the BCJ pod? I'm trying to think.
He committed. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, either way, thoughts on Davion. Obviously, you've obviously been able to track the recruitment for quite a while.
I haven't watched him in person, unfortunately.
Right.
I'm guessing I did in high school and didn't know it. Like, wasn't a guy that was on my radar. I know he played with Gigi Jackson, who's at South Carolina now, was the number 1 player in the class before reclassifying. He's a downhill guard. He's an attacking, scoring guard.
Right.
And Jizzle's a little bit more of a distributor that can also score, where Day is more, a bucket getter. So I think you can play the 2 of them together. They're little. If you play them together, you're losing a little bit of size, but you're gaining aggressiveness. You're gaining quickness. You're gaining something this team lacks. I think they're last in the conference in free throw percentage. In terms of getting to the line, like how much of your offense comes from free throws, and you correct that by going out and getting guards that play downhill and play with strength, and they definitely address that with these 2 guys. You've got a kid that's shooting over 40% in JUCO. That's going to obviously dip as the competition level rises. But he's tough. He's competitive. He's physical. He's got some bounce to him. He's got some athleticism to his game. So I think going to be a guy that really matches kind of what Wes Miller wants out of, that point guard, combo guard spot.
Yeah, I mean, you look at I think Wes would probably agree that his best player during his time at UNCG was Isaiah Miller, and he was an uber athletic, downhill, 6-foot guard that could jump out of the gym. I'm not saying that Day or Jizzle are that right now, but the fact that that's kind of the prototype of the type of player that he had that dominated during his time there is something to keep an eye out on, especially uber athletic, defender, got that dog in him. I think it's something that any team would like to inject. So I'm all here for it. Stamp and then mailbag, unless Aaron or Ryan, you have anything about Day?
I'm excited to see him in the white, black, and red.
Dude, he dunks on a fast break. He dunks. How about that?
I love that shit.
That is something I can't wait to see.
Quick paper supply. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, is that you still being bitter about the Landers Nolly miss on the fast break dunk?
No, that's me saying that Micah and Dave lay it in on fast breaks.
Okay.
Which is good. I mean, 2 points is 2 points, but dunks are fun.
Thanks, Berg. Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick, 513-470-2029, and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Oh.
All right. Mailbag is pretty
Really
light this
mailbag.
week.
Yeah, very light.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Of course you are.
If you've got questions in the chat, fire them away. Give Aaron something to do.
That's fine. All right. The football portion of the mailbag. Do they have enough offensive tackles to round out an O-line, or does significant work still need to be done? I've been having trouble keeping up. Whatever happened with Luther Richardson, just for curiosity's sake?
No idea.
With Luther Richardson?
I have no idea about the O-line either. And Luther, I think, just said, like, oh, I should be getting looked at for the job to start. And
No, he means, like, where's he at? Like, has he committed anywhere?
His
I
Twitter
can't
went
see
dark.
the whole. I think he got a good reality check.
Well, people have been putting two and two together that he would end up at UAB with what's his name?
I don't know that Dilfer.
But he's not there yet.
Right.
He screwed over Dilfer. Like, you have to understand that too. Dilfer, as a coach, vouched for him to Luke Fickell. And from what I heard, when Luke called Trent Dilfer and was like, "Hey, the kid just left," Trent was pissed because that projects bad on your high school, right? Like, you've got this kid that just showed up somewhere, made it through a week of camp and bounced. Like, I don't think it ended well between the Richardson family and Trent Dilfer. So I'm not shocked he's not at UAB. And I'm not shocked he hasn't found someone to take a risk on him. Because who's going to take a risk on a quarterback that the first time the going gets tough, he just packs up his shit and heads out?
100% character flaw there.
Daddy did him no favors.
Well, they also did him no favors in the way that they raised him. Like, you know, I'd heard a story that the team went to Kings Island to Coney Island for like a team day,
right?
To go let off some steam and have some fun and play in the pool and do some water slides. And
Dante did a cannonball,
right? And Luther sat over like in the corner by himself, like eating his meal prepped, broccoli, rice, and chicken. Just everybody else is having a good time, and he's sitting over there by himself. Like, that family did that kid no favors in the way that they prepared him for college. Because look, life is one thing when the kid is in your house every day or under your supervision every day in high school. But at some point in time, they have to go out into the real world. And if they're not ready for it, you make shitty decisions.
Yeah. And
those shitty decisions can impact the rest of your life. Like, Aaron and I watched that kid throw.
Great arm.
Throw. He could spin it, as the dorks say these days. He could really throw. And if he doesn't ever get a chance again, or if he's somebody that just goes by the wayside without ever like really figuring out if football was part of his life, I feel bad for the kid. Like, fuck the parents. I don't feel bad for them at all. They screwed that kid. I feel bad for the kid. He's the one that's going to pay for it.
Ryan, if the team went to Coney Island, would Joel DeBlanco pack his own chicken, rice, and broccoli?
No.
Okay. Just curious.
As far as offensive tackles go, I'm excited to see if Cam Jones heals up, how he looks. Because, man, in that little Wired Wednesday with Mr. Powell's daddy, it was Cam Jones looking like a giant compared to everyone else.
A monster. He looks like a monster. Sometimes it looks like Tarzan plays like Jane.
Right.
That's what he'd be like sometimes. But granted, when you got Myjai Sanders running at you and spearing you in the chest at full speed, you're not going to look very good. Anyone would. So.
Facts. Big facts.
But I don't know. He looked like an animal. Capiche? Okay. Oh, there you go.
Capiche.
Maybe that'll be his nickname in WWE, the Animal.
Wasn't that
Laurinaitis Senior?
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. Any more on the offensive tackles or O-line?
I don't know. Like, I'm interested for the spring so that we can get a feel of like who is at those tackle spots. It's always hard because with a new, like we saw it last year with a new voice in the room. If you'd have asked me a month before spring football last year, you could have asked me 50 times, and Joe Huber's name would not have come out of my mouth.
Yep.
50 times, and his name would
Right.
not have come out of my mouth.
Yeah, agreed.
And he was a starting right tackle all season.
It's because he was scared about all the sirens and
Yeah.
all the bad things going on in Clifton, and he just didn't see him around that much.
Moving on.
All the ambulances.
If you were 100% assured by a secret NFL source that 5 Bearcats would be drafted in this year's draft, what would be the names of those 5 Bearcats?
I think
Josh
it's fairly,
Leonard
I think there's a
Taylor,
pretty-
Trey Tucker, Who's
Tyler
left?
Scott, Ivan Pace.
Tyler Scott, Ivan Pace. Yeah.
Those would be I think that's the pretty easy 5, right?
Cut and dry.
I don't think it's guaranteed that those 5 are drafted, but if I had to go to betfredsports.com and place a wager on, 5 Bearcats get drafted, name them, those would be the 5.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
wouldn't be shocked to see Bari work his way into something.
Arquan would surprise me.
Arquan wouldn't surprise me. Arquan's invited to the combine.
Yeah,
I
Arquan.
So
understand.
he's going to get his the percentage of guys that go to the combine that get drafted is very high.
So
if you were-
Schwartz, too.
If you were going with 5, though, I don't know that I would put Arquan above any of the 5 that you've mentioned.
No, that's fair.
That's what I meant by that.
Yeah. Do I think there's a decent chance that Arquan gets drafted? I better than 0.
Either way, I think he'll end up on a roster of
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. That's the entirety of the football portion of the mailbag.
Hey,
You guys can step your damn game up. Come
Let's
on.
go football. Woo!
Yeah, football. Yeah.
I love football.
All right.
I
So
love-
for
Yay,
basketball,
football.
I love this screen name. Lucy loves banana. That's fantastic.
It's my favorite all-time
Lucy
nickname on the
loves
board.
bananas.
No, just banana, singular.
This one.
Okay.
2 questions,
One.
plural. Number 1, from January 2nd, 2023 until today, the Cats are 15 in efficiency according to bartervic.com, and number
Bart
9 in
Torvik.
defense.
Bart
Okay.
Torvik.
Barter Vic.
Bartervic. In defensive efficiency.
It's actually Victor Lockins.
It is Victor Lockins.
Metrics.
Uncle.
website, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. In your assessment, what has been the biggest reason for Wes Miller's development of this team into a top 10 defense of late?
One, I think the biggest challenge, as we talked about a little earlier, was figuring out how they were going to defend without Rob and without John.
Mhm.
And that change meant relying less on individually high-end defenders and relying more on communication. Your communication defending ball screens, your communication in rotations, your communication, in rim protection and where guys are. Basically, that's a long way around saying they're playing as a unit. They're kind of playing as one defensively, like elite defenses do. Like Ryan will tell you, like when UC had an elite defense, yes, they had great talent. But more than anything, everybody knew specifically, this is my role. This is why it's my role. This is what I'm asked to do. And if I step outside of that, I'm probably going to screw up what somebody else is supposed to be doing.
The unit.
I agree, Sam. Headband Vic is the reason they're playing better. Headbands make everything better.
Everything?
Everything.
I'll take that into advice.
Ryan. Playing as a unit defensively.
You're saying the team.
Together, everyone achieves more, Ryan.
Oh, that was I can't believe Coach Vic picked such a corny ass saying. I felt like I was in like 5th grade gym class.
The guy had too much sauce. What can you say?
That's worse though. So we got some work to do here.
Worse than hold the rope.
Worse than hold the rope?
Yeah, that's the worst slogan in the history of UC football.
Oh, really?
Hold the rope. Or rep the sea.
Those are both terrible.
Rep the C, not quite as bad.
How
but-
about brick by brick? What are your thoughts on brick by brick?
Just so lame.
It's a church song.
It's terrible for basketball.
And brick by brick, you lead me.
Aaron made it funny.
What
The
did,
second,
what did Aaron say?
I said it's terrible for basketball if that's your slogan.
Brick by brick.
I like that. Good job. Did you want to hear my thoughts on defense? I think what it is your star players buying in. That's a big thing for me. I think you see buy-in from Landers, buy-in from Dave, and buy-in from Vic, and I think that then becomes contagious. And when your star players are the ones buying in on the defensive end, everyone else is going to as well.
Best players got to be your leaders.
Amen.
That's why you were always a leader.
Amen.
And the second part of the question, while highly unlikely and improbable, follow me for a minute. If the Cats win the remainder of the regular season games, they would likely climb to top 50 in KenPom with the following records: 5-7 in Q1, Q2 games, and no Q4 losses. Added another 1 or possibly 2 Q1, Q2 wins in the conference tournament. And I think there's an outside chance for this team to still get an at-large bid if everything goes right. Thoughts?
Lucy loves banana. Hey, you're talking my language now.
I don't.
What are your
They
thoughts?
would be they would still be on the outside looking in, but they would. We talked about this last night. They would at least be in the conversation.
I mean, I looked at the bubble, and it's always
Let me guess. The bubble is bad.
no. Well, oh yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't say bad. I would say horrendous, like horrible, like very bad. And you think Cincinnati lacks quality wins. A lot of these teams that are projected in, they don't have any quality wins. Maybe one, like really good win to hang their hat on. I guess that's the only thing Cincinnati doesn't have at this point is one really good win to hang their hat on. That NKU loss is going to haunt everyone's dreams for a while, but
It's like walks.
But I think if they win out and make it to the conference tournament championship, I think they're in the exact same boat that Texas A&M was in last year, where they're like thinking they're going to make it, and if they make it, hey, I'm saying if they make it, then hey, the committee got it right. If they didn't make it, then they're wrong. But yeah,
Maybe
I think
Aaron just doesn't like too much sauce because Davenport wears 24. Let's really psychoanalyze things here.
That's actually a good point.
I don't hate Jeremiah Davenport. I just said they
It
played
doesn't say
better when
hate,
he was.
just doesn't like.
Well, I said that I hated the too much for sauce.
Too much.
Just felt like a reach. Anyway,
Grandpa.
that's fine.
I mean, it'll be a bunch of teams with like 12 and 13 losses.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, okay, do we let this team in that has 13 losses, but they have one more quad one win than Cincinnati has?
No, the thing is, if Cincinnati wins out, they'd be 14-4 in the American, right?
Yeah. I mean, if that's the math, then yeah.
I mean, they're 7-4 right now.
Right.
So if they win the next 7 games, they'd be 14-4.
Right.
And then you add a pair of conference tournament wins. 16. Would they win 7 in the out of conference? 7-4.
They were 9-4.
No.
Yeah.
13. Okay, yeah. So 9 and 16. That would be 25 wins. A 25-win team in the American is probably going to find a way in.
25-9. I mean, remember that Wichita State team like 3 years ago that was in the first 4? They had like one decent win. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting.
Maybe I'm a bit off there because you do have to remember the bubble sucks every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to win the next 7. They'd have to essentially not only win the next 7, but 2 after that. That would be 9, and they've won 2 since Houston. They're gonna go 11-1.
Tear.
11-game tear.
They'd be the hottest team in the country. Everyone's talking about them. Put them in.
All right. Can they win on the road? Tulane, then Memphis, then UCF. Possible, but a tall order for this team. Let's get one big W against Memphis at home. But do you think they can win all 3 of those games on the road? Tulane, UCF, and Memphis.
Basically, what
I
he's
think
saying at the
Memphis
end
would be
is
the
they
hardest
let
one.
a big one against Memphis at home get away from them.
Oh.
Aaron says no, they'll never win a road game again
Ever.
in the history of the program.
That would be bad.
Even though I
Yeah,
think they'll beat ECU at ECU in their
That's what I said. They ECU doesn't count for any.
they don't exist.
They don't exist. And look, in 5 weeks, ECU no longer exists.
Can't wait.
They no longer exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
All right. Between Cincy, UCF, Houston, and BYU, which school is in the best position to make the biggest splash in the Big 12 standings in year one, considering the combined performance of the football and basketball programs only?
You know what's interesting in this question? What do we think Houston is going to be like next year in basketball? Jarris Walker's going to the NBA.
Yes.
Sasser's gone,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I think Shed is gone.
Shed's back.
Shed's back? Okay.
They'd have Shed, Mark, Arsenault.
Juwan
Roberts, I think, is still there.
Unless any of these guys decide to go pro, Shed might.
I don't think Shed will go pro. He's short.
they'll be okay. They'll probably still be the best of those four in basketball.
Right.
But Dana's going to get Dana. We already know what Dana looks like in the Big 12.
Drunk.
It's bad. Well, yeah, he always looks drunk. I don't know. I don't know that any of them are going to be. I mean, Cincinnati obviously got the most favorable schedule. I think we've talked about that a lot when it comes to like who of the four got the best schedule in football. Cincinnati. I don't know. I think everybody's going to be kind of mid.
I agree. Football would be lucky to be over 500.
I think people just don't give enough credence to the fact that it's one, a big jump, and two, it doesn't happen instantly. It doesn't happen instantly. So you're going to have to learn your opponents. You're going to have to learn, like, what does our style look like against a new set of opponents? Like, I think they're all going to be kind of mid, and one or two of them are probably going to be bad in both sports. Hopefully, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing also in basketball and what we've been harping on is the fact that you're now recruiting in the portal with the Big 12 next to your name. So
Sure.
Houston's got deep pockets with their, boosters as well. And Kelvin Sampson's Kelvin Sampson. So I'm sure they'll possibly be able to add a name or two in the portal as well. So I would say that, Houston basketball would be the only one that would have the ability to compete,
jump up and play with the top. Yeah.
Right.
All right. As much as this year's team has had its ups and downs, I do truly love watching them when they play as a team. Who is/was y'all's favorite Bearcat to watch play basketball at UC? Mine is a tie between Gary Clark and Kyle Washington.
Gary Clark was mine.
I still think it's Eric Hicks. Hicks was just such an animal. And he was so scary and intimidating. I mean, like Kenyon is the easy answer.
Yeah.
Logan, Nick Van Exel, Sean Kilpatrick. Like, there's a lot of names. But, man, especially that year in the Big East that Hicks got where he was 6'4.5" and going up against all the big dudes from the Big East and was first, pretty much unanimous first team all Big East. Like, the heart that dude played with, I love me some Eric Hicks.
Concussion in the first half, came back, dominated the second half. Yeah.
Doesn't remember it for a second.
Yeah, I think Hicks, obviously. Max Seal's in the same vein. Outside of all those high, names like the go-to names that you
Right.
mentioned, Chad. Mine is Tony Bobbitt.
I'm glad you didn't steal mine. I'm glad you didn't steal mine.
I tell you what, man, I just remember Tony hitting some big shots and like just going nuts. And I mean, like Tony Bobbitt, like Field Williams was that same.
Why didn't you
time.
stop? Why didn't you stop at Tony Bobbitt?
Oh, well, just forget I said Field, but Tony Bobbitt, when he had that game against Oregon, it was like a neutral court game. He dropped like 23, and Dickie V was like, Tony Bobbitt, baby, he's phenomenal. And I was just like, yeah,
Diamond Diaper
Bobbitt.
Dandies.
And then who knows? I saw Tony at Kings Island. I said, Tony, I love you. You're great. And yeah, he signed my shirt.
I liked Field Williams because first off, he had his first name on the back of his jersey. Nobody did that. Second, he was always huge from the corner, big threes all the time. Like before everyone fell in love with the three, so it wasn't like that was all the game was. I don't know. He was exciting to watch, and just I felt like he just made everything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, gosh, we could keep going, but I just had to throw out one, just one.
All right. This probably should have been in the banks, but this is the last one I'll read for the basketball. Instead of trying to think of a brain-tingling basketball question, I thought I'd share a really good joke I heard from my boss friend today, which also happened to be from The Last of Us in last night's episode.
Yep.
Did you know that diarrhea runs in the family? Yes, it runs in the genes.
So good.
Hilarious.
That is really good. That was actually.
I personally hate pun jokes. I think they suck. They never make me laugh. But thank you for sharing. Nothing against you.
Ryan, what's an 80-year-old man's penis smell like?
Old dick.
Depends.
All right, and one last question from the banks portion of the mailbag. Of course, it's Skins. Who is the best former Bearcat walk-on turned scholarship player who has a podcast, and why is it Royer? I know the answer is Jason Kelce.
You're a traitor.
Geez, Skins.
It's Royer.
Pull the freaking carpet out from underneath.
All right.
I mean, it could be Statty. Could be Statty.
Steady, daddy. Yeah.
Rapid fire. Waffle cone or regular cone for ice cream? I'm going waffle cone.
Are we talking
Waffle,
like cake regular cone or?
No, just a regular cone. Like a little
like
tiny regular.
Like a sugar
like
one.
you pull out of the dispenser, the little sugar cone.
Sugar. Waffle.
Waffle, for sure.
Sugar cone sucks.
Yeah. I'm more of a cup. I like a cup.
I'm going cup.
You don't like to lick it?
No.
God.
Motherfucker said ice cream.
Just the spoon. He'd be licking the spoon. God,
This second question's unreal. Contracting clap or eating at a table in an Italian restaurant after Rick Pitino just finished at the same table?
Oh,
well, here's the problem. If you eat at a table where Rick Pitino just finished, you're also going to get the clap. So it's at least I get an Italian dinner with the latter.
What's the reference? I don't understand that one.
Just Google Rick Pitino Italian
had relations with a woman in the booth of an Italian restaurant in Louisville.
Lasted about 14 seconds.
Yeah.
I think it was less than 14.
No, 15 was what they did.
Is that what they
15 seconds, yeah.
Okay. Well, so it said the question says finish, so I'm guessing that just he finished his meal and you're eating after it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna eat where Rick Pitino just finished eating it.
Yeah, you're gonna get the clap either way. So you might as well have it.
He might also be a vampire, so who knows what he was actually eating at this Italian restaurant. So
I'm not getting into that.
Just saying, he might be a vampire. Friends or Seinfeld?
Seinfeld.
I hate them both equally.
I've seen
They're
more.
both funny. I don't get the hate on like sitcoms. Like they're just supposed to be light and funny. I generally laugh. I like most of them. I like How I Met Your Mother and The Big Bang Theory. And like I don't take sitcoms too seriously. I take them for what they are, and they're supposed to be just funny. So yeah. But Seinfeld.
And then P.S. It was good to see you back in action, Chad. Hopefully things continue on a good trajectory for Kelly. There was one question I saw in the chat, I think.
Yep. Fake John Goebel wants to know, does Aaron look more like Cheddar Bob from 8 Mile, DiCaprio from The Revenant, or in a few years when Aaron inevitably loses his hair, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers? I think the last one is the answer.
Cheddar Bob all the way.
Let me look them all up.
There's other actual questions here. Everyone's favorite question: any new information on the apparel deal and when we might see an announcement?
If I had new information on that, you think I'm just sitting on it?
Just chilling with it.
Yeah. Something that would generate more interaction than anything we've posted since Luke Fickle left. Like, yeah, I'm just sitting on it. No, there's unfortunately there's nothing new yet. We're working on it.
Oklahoma and Texas do not have 2023 Big 12 schedule posted. Every other Big 12 team does. Is there any chance Oklahoma and Texas leave the Big 12 in 2023?
No, there's a chance they don't leave in 2024 right now. Like that, no. They are playing in the Big 12 in 2023. They're just throwing a fit.
They're just bitter. Yeah. I saw someone say like every single team created a graphic or a GIF showing their new or a video showing their new schedule.
They just retweeted.
But all they did was just retweet the Big 12's tweet of the schedules.
They're mad. They're big mad.
Sour.
Do you think I'm sitting on it? Is that a reference to some Jordan Nike shorts you're wearing, Chad?
I don't have Jordan Nike shorts on.
I'm on to you.
I have a pair, but I don't have them on right now. I've got on a pair of joggers.
That's the mailbag.
Very good. Very good.
And I would say the best Bearcats walk-on, maybe basketball walk-on, you go Connor Barwood. Because he did walk on to the basketball team, even though he was a scholarship football player.
He loved hoops that much?
It was so bad, Ryan. Like, they needed him so bad. Like, he had to guard Greg Oden and Joey Dorsey. And Joey Dorsey at the time was this 7-foot dude from Memphis that was just an absolute monster. And they couldn't move Barwin. Like, he actually held his own. It was laughable. I always talk about the difference between football and basketball. You learned when you saw Connor Barwin play basketball. Because when Connor Barwin was on a football field, he was yoked. Like the biggest, strongest, baddest looking dude on the football field. And then he went out and he had to play center because they didn't have any players in Mick's first year. When Huggins left and when Huggins left, Kennedy didn't get retained. Mick takes over. They had one scholarship player. So they brought in a bunch of JUCOs. Mick knew, like, okay, I've got to get a roster for now, but I got to start building long term. So they brought Connor in to play. Connor played the AK year, or was on the team the AK year, right? I think at some point, like later in the season, and then came back for Mick's first year. And I just, you know, he was a decent basketball player. He just let me see.
I'm sure the fans loved it, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was after Armin got hurt.
Yeah, he joined the basketball team.
Andy said we need some people for practice.
Yeah.
And that's when because they had like Ron Allen on the team and stuff, and
yeah,
they and then that's when him and
Angelo
Craig.
Back. Yeah.
Remember that one? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They both joined the team, and then so Ryan, do you know who Greg Oden is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Oden on Barwin, they were playing downtown Indianapolis. I'm at the game, and I'm like, Cincinnati's gonna shock the world. And I see Barwin guarding Oden, and I'm just like, oh gosh, yeah, this is not gonna go well.
Was that when Ohio State went to the Natty?
That is, yeah. It's like Deontay Vaughn could not possibly score enough points to win this game. He didn't.
Barwin held his own, surprisingly. Like, obviously, he wasn't good.
Right.
But for a 6'3", 6'4" center playing in the Big East, like, he held his own.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Look, Rob Banks started over an NBA first-round pick.
So Banks is the best walk-on ever.
Maybe that does tilt things to Rob Banks. And Aaron, who has been pissed off the entire show, is now ready to throw his computer at the wall.
Get us out of here, Brent.
Because we had Tari. Anyway, all right. Well, guys, that was a beautiful show. Special thank you, as always, to our guys. Chad, show him the hat. Is the hat off now? Oh.
Yeah, I've got him right here.
Our boys over at Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Danco Joe. Tell him what's up. Shout out to him. Thank you to him. Quick Paper Supply timestamps. Quick Paper Supply. Thank you to you. Of course, thank you for Luke Winstel.
Betfred.
Hopping on. Betfred Sports. Thank you for hopping on. This week, remember, Tuesday night, big game against Tulane. Saturday night, big game against South Florida. And then, of course, the Kelce Bowl featuring.
Are you sure South Florida Saturday? I thought it was ECU.
No, it's South Florida, Saturday night.
Okay.
At 7 p.m., I believe, 7:30 maybe.
ECU's Wednesday.
Third Arena.
Oh, ECU's Wednesday the 15th. That's right. I screwed that up.
Right.
That's on me.
Yep. Kelce Bowl.
That's on me. My bad.
B. Cook. So, hey, as always, a bunch of Cincinnati stuff, Bearcats from here until there. But for my broadcast buddies, good pals, I am Brent Young. Yet again, this is another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!